Adventure Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron Carotta, but the name is awful, man. But thank you.
It's a great
like,
name.
Nah, it comes with a lot of ego. I try not to. I try to downplay the self part, man.
Where did well, let's just start from square one. I mean, tell us about yourself and how did you become Adventure Aaron and all that?
Born in Louisiana, and we grew up. We lived around pretty much 40 or 50 states growing up, and played basketball out of college, so I got my competitiveness going, and then ended up graduating from Catholic University in Washington, D.C., went right to New York, grabbed a job there, and 9/11 happened, and went out to L.A. to visit friends who, after college, they were like, we're going to go be actors and have a good time in L.A., and I was like, have fun, and then there I followed them up. But I lasted like 3 months, and then went back to South Florida, dug my heels into real estate, and then got cancer. And that's when I changed my whole perspective in 2008. Used it as a wake-up call, and read a book called The 4-Hour Workweek with Tim Ferriss, and it changed my life.
You wrote that book?
No. Tim did.
Oh.
I wish I did. It's like it was like bestseller.
I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, great guy. I basically read it with medical bills. I had testicular cancer, but it was just a wake-up call in my head. And like, hey man, you're living a life that you're not really on par with. This was your roots. You grew up in Kentucky, simple-minded. Now you're chasing money. And I just really gravitated towards it. So I grabbed a little camera at the time and filmed myself doing it in 60 days and said, hey man, there's been a lot of testimonials, but no one's done a case study. So I did it in 60 days, ended up in Costa Rica, opening a tattoo shop, and sent it the little documentary to the author and said, hey man, thanks for writing the book, and what do I do now?
Yeah.
And he called me and said, you want to start a blog? And in 2008, that's when blogs kind of were going, and started this blog and called it Adventure Aaron, because when I was in Costa Rica, the mind state of living through cancer is like you kind of get a wake-up call and you live life to the fullest. I know it's a bad cliche to some, but it really dug in for me. And we were just all in Costa Rica, my best friend and a few other people, and we climbed this little waterfall. It was like 60 feet or something. And the local guide was like, I was like, hey bro, can we really jump from this? He's like, see. I was like, okay. I didn't tell anybody else. So we all stood up there and I was like, all right, get your popcorn ready. The show's about to begin, and just jumped. And so like everyone started jumping after that, and I think that's kind of like been the spirit of it since, is like just going out, trying things, motivating, inspiring people, being an idiot, but trying not to be. Yeah, living it to the fullest. And then got down the village and someone's like, hey, it's Adventure Aaron. But 17 years later, I'm on the biggest adventure of my life right now.
Well, that's how I met you and found out about you. Shout out to Jeff Moe, who, yeah.
He's an awesome writer, man. He gives us, he's really well credited, man. And in the media industry, you like those people who give you a fair shake. And
well, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be here right now, man, because he told me, he's like, you need to meet him. You need to talk to him about his story and all this and how he's trying to, row and circumnavigate the globe. I mean, that's your ultimate goal at the end of the day here, right?
Yeah, it's to help other people, to be honest. And, I think everyone who does adventures has goals, and it's okay to do whatever. If you want to go for a record, go for it. Like, great. I'll be the first person to give you a like, and follow you and give you support, because I think that's what people need these days. That's worth more than money for people on adventures. And for me, it was like, I've kind of done some world first already. So like this one was a real quest spiritually, but like you go through phases. Like if you're going to do an expedition or you're going to help philanthropy, like you can do it for self, which is awesome. A record, great. It gives you notoriety. You can pay it forward, which I think is like the second step. Like you get to like find a charity. How can I make an impact? Because once you get a record or once you do something, you're like feeling really good about yourself, and that's the healing process of an adventure. And then you get to a level where like, fuck, I want to help other people now. I'm good. So then you start helping other people. And then after that point where I feel like I'm kind of at now, you're like, how does all this happen? Like, what is the purpose of life? Like, and then that's when you get to a realm where you're like spiritual. And I don't mean to push like spirituality on anybody, because like, I don't want to be offensive, but I can kind of tell you my story of, especially recently, how it's just a belief that works and makes me happy.
I've spoken to so many people so far in similar situations like you, and have all heard very similar points of view on all this. So it's cool, man. We all need to get like a group of all you guys together.
Oh, dude, I would love to, man. I've heard some of those podcasts, dude. It's epic. Just like your intro song, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's all true. You put that together.
It's excellent.
But let's just go back to when you decided that this is what you wanted to do. It's not for any ego, nothing. You just wanted to go do it for, life is short. You've just found out. And this after you survived cancer, correct?
Yeah, I beat cancer in 2008, jumped into a life of doing adventures on my own, figured out a way to film and get tours and boards around the world to give us money to get there. So I would take a camera guy or two. We'd make just enough money to get the thing on air, pay the guys, and go. And like you learn that business. And I found out that, man, I'm not really good at this part. Like it feels really selfish in some regards. So then you try to produce other programs. But I did a lot of media, and then I settled down. Like I was running with the Bulls for the second time in Spain, and I just remember getting to the Coliseum and being bored. And I said, oh shit, I'm in trouble. Like, sorry, man, I don't know if we can curse.
That's all right, then.
Okay. I guess sailor, whatever. But yeah, I was like, fuck, I'm in trouble. And that's when like I was bored. So I went home to my family, met a girl, got into a relationship, and tried to incorporate a restaurant, more media, and it didn't work out. And I don't blame anybody but myself. Back then I kind of did, but I was like, I got to get back to what was me, and it was the adventure part. So I jumped in a canoe for 233 days. And I guess like Forrest Gump just kept rowing and was like, holy shit, like I think I'm going farther than the record says 37.50 at the moment, which are 32.5. I started the headwaters in Missouri. I didn't have a canoe. I didn't have money. I had $5 left, lost a lot of stuff, and was just going through an in-between midlife canoe crisis, if you will. But went from the headwaters to the confluence and met some amazing people, man. And that's when I was like, this is it. This is home. Like I found the current, and it was all about finding the current again. And then I got to the confluence, met some really big paddlers, Big Muddy Mike, and some other legends that you hear about. And I like, oh, this is all really coming together. So I kept going, kind of like down the Great Loop, like your previous guest, Peter.
Yeah.
And was reading up on like the rules of Guinness at the time. So I'm like, okay, like my buddy was adopted in out of Russia, and he lived in New Zealand. He was a cameraman of mine. And I'm like, bro, let's raise some money for your thing. So we put I'mAdopted.org on the canoe. And I found out like the only way to really get the attention that this thing needs for his organization is to claim like we're going for something. So like that's when I found Guinness. Little did I know that there were other paddlers that had not played by the rules, but had gone similar, maybe a handful of distances, not far, but like they had gone, and they just didn't get the record. So then there was this whole like understanding of, okay, like your goal is to be humble and to be in a rowboat or be in a canoe, and you're trying to do these things, and you don't want to like cause more conflict. And so like I kind of just didn't take it, but play by the rules, carried the boat around 10 different dams, went all the way to the Gulf, and then took a left and went up the Swanee River and portaled on foot for the first time, which you weren't allowed to do for the record. So the journey ended there, and it was like 5,000 miles. And then got to the St. Mary's and went out. That didn't
bother you?
No. At that time, whenever you catch me on the adventure, it changes. Just like now, and I think if you're following an adventure and you're seeing them post and they're going for a record, don't hate on it. Like, it's just someone like getting to a better point in their adventurous life that they're going to, and I take that for life in general. Like people like post things like it's what they believe, it's what they think, man, but give them like validation and let them be heard. And then it will get to a point, hopefully, that like you want to help other people, and then you want to connect and realize that, hey, we could possibly be, I believe, all connected under a greater purpose. And so that's kind of how this new adventure started,
I think that's
man.
Where you're at now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a rowboat. Yes, it's a record. It's the first person to human power around the world by same form, which the only way you can human power around the world without a sail, without a motor, is by sea. And it happens to be what I believe in, this ocean rowboat. And
so let's talk about the rowboat.
It's been a fucking wild run, bro.
I do. Well, the rowboat, the pictures I've seen when you first got it, it looks
Yeah.
very different now.
Yeah.
Well, I guess before the accident, but we'll get to that. But
Yeah. So,
tell me about the boat, though. I mean, I'm
okay.
just trying to picture. When I first saw it, I was like, "Is this?" I thought at first it looked like one of them stand up paddle boards, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of similar, but you got the whole system
Yeah.
where.
Yeah. 23 feet, and
Yep.
it's got a skull. It self rights if everything's right. So, that being said, I didn't know what it was. I got the call from the Vancouver Maritime Museum that it was available and 10 cents to the dollar. It had a hole in it. Two gals who raced from, or were going to race from Hawaii to, or from San Fran to Hawaii, I think had issues on day 3, which is common among rowers. You know, you do all this work, you do a lot of planning, and then you get to the thing and you're like, holy shit, like whatever.
This ain't it.
This doesn't feel right for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got the call and I'm like, what the fuck is an ocean rowboat? And there's a hole in it. And I've never been in the ocean. I fear it. Let's go. You know, because like at this point in my life, like I'm 47, I've done 17 years of things. I'm just finding some serious beauty, man, and things you fear. So I try to recognize the things I fear and go for it in a way that can help other people and keep me on a purpose path. And then now, like this one is like, let's connect with God, because like I was raised a certain way spiritually, and people kind of have their different beliefs around the world. And when I saw someone go on stage and do the thing and point, or you look on the dollar bill and it says, "In God We Trust," what do they see?
Yeah.
So I called it sea level, SEE level, and left from. I got the boat. I'll back up a little bit, man, if I'm going all over the place.
You're going, man. Okay. I just like to hear everything.
And this sounds like I come from a very humble place, man. I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to like, because I don't know, you know, I'm not a fucking rower.
Yeah.
I try to like help other people, like, you know, so just, I'm not the expert, but I've spent, 10,000 miles rowing this thing now. And
10,000 miles.
Yeah. I've hit 11 countries.
Where'd you start?
San Diego. So
Okay.
yeah, I got the boat. It was COVID. I had to cross the border without crossing it to get the boat. Trailered it to Louisiana, where I was born. Found some good old boys to help me fiberglass. Danny will be my first shout out, man. He took one look at this boat and he said, "You ain't rowing that damn boat." I said, "Fuck yeah, I ain't, bro." And so like he said, "All right, well, let's get to work." And so like tri-parish fiberglass helped me learn to fiberglass. It's when I learned how to do it. So we like just basically there's a hole where the rudder was, because when it got trailered out, the rudder went up into it. And the boat is designed, it's 23 feet and it's only got a rudder. And I am old school. So like it's a foot rudder. So you just, that's it. And you have your oars. And it's a 2-person, but I use it as one because I haven't found anyone else to go with me yet. And I won't take anyone else yet until like I know what I'm doing.
That was going to be one of my questions, man. And I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but I was always under the impression that you had somebody maybe following you like by boat or nothing. You know, you're completely out in the middle of the ocean solo.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
But it needs it now because of what happened.
Okay.
Okay. So like,
we'll get there.
Okay. Yeah. So I trained in the Gulf at the time and went to Horn Island, you know, and that was my spot from Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Okay.
And ended up meeting the neighbor whose son was a very decorated SEAL. And we did some talking and some work and had some advice. And 8 months later, I dropped it in San Diego. And I got outfitted by solar panels up.
Yeah.
And at Gulf Shore, they put me with all solar. So like there's no fuel, there's nothing, man. You're just on solar, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, now you're really connecting with nature. So I'm like, I can get into this. Like I just came off canoe. I've been running around the world. Like I love this nature stuff. So let's go. So you trailer it down, and Mission Bay, I dropped it in San Diego. And funny story, I guess, is that like, it was the first time I put it in the freaking water, like in the ocean. And I needed to like work it out a little bit. So like I rode a little bit from the police docks and started to create way too much attention. Like I was like, fuck, man.
But a lot of people are interested in what's going on.
Down in Mission Bay, there's everything. There's the Navy ship, like there's like all these tourists, like there's people like just doing their own thing. And like here I am like powering through, like forcing my way up the current, up the canal. You know, out the canal. So and like
you're just training there and everybody's
totally training. Yeah. And I ended up waking up in the morning, I think at like 9 a.m. was like, I'm just going to go out in the ocean. I got out in the ocean past the seaweed. There's a lot of kelp and swells. And then once you get out, I just took a left. And I think within like the first 30 minutes, I started seeing helicopters. I'm like, holy shit, I may be at the Mexico border already. So I turned around and then went back and was like, wow, that was fucking epic. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And as I'm at the police stocks, man, I met a guy named Ed Gillette. Random chance, which I tend to think these aren't chances anymore, but Ed was the guy who kayaked from California to Hawaii. First guy. And was on the Johnny Carson show. Awesome dude.
Yeah.
Gave me a list of names of stops, told me fishermen would be my friends, said a lot of great things, and was truly at a level in his own career that he recognized any adventure out there like I try to do now. Go for it. Good on you. And so sold my trailer, sold my car, took everything I had, put it in this boat with $5 left, and decided I was going to try to get to Panama. And Panama was where I believed was the circumnavigational point of the world. So if you're going to human power, you can't get up, or you can only get up or back from the States. Okay. You can't in a human power because you got currents, right? Yep. So off I went. So
started from Panama.
Started from San Diego.
But yeah. Panama is where you're going to actually end up once you're done.
Yeah. That's the circumnavigational point. That's the place I ended up rowing to and getting to 14 months later.
So before all that, though, what preparation on the boat besides just fiberglass work and solar? I mean, how much food can you stock? What are you powering?
Back then, man, the ocean rowing is a sport that's really growing, and you're always like, for me, I'm always like feeding for information, man. I'm like, how can I get that? How can I? And some people will talk to you, some people don't, and I'm not sure if it's because of things that have happened to them or they don't want to be liable, but like you get to a point when like you get all the resources you can. So like I call in my boat plan with the Coast Guard, number one thing, right?
Yep.
I call them. Little did I know that's going to fucking put me on the map.
Well, that's all right.
Which is great. Yeah. But when you get crossed up in an email, it's not supposed to go to you. It's supposed to go to the other Coast Guards, and they say this idiot's still rowing. Like, you're like, fuck, they don't like me. And we joke about it now, but I got crossed up in one by accident. I'm like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm the first guy going down this train. Like, this train hasn't gone down this track yet. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not quitting.
No.
But like, you don't want to hurt or risk the lives of other people on your journey, and you want to do your best to find your own storm. You're going to find a fucking storm.
No, you just nailed that right there. Right? I get people that go out there and all the time, and I hear stories. It's like you are now when you start putting others at risk, that's when it's just draw the line.
Yeah. And there will be coasties that will say, that's what we get paid to do. There will be others that say, hey, you're an idiot. You're that adventure guy. You're chasing adrenaline. And I'm like, fuck, am I? Like, I'm trying not to be. Like, tell me what to do different. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where I'm at, is like, how do I keep learning from this experience? How do I help other people? And it's one of the reasons I came, man. I was like, I got your text. I'm like, fuck, am I going to be one of those qualified guys? Like,
no.
At any point in my career, I could have been, though. You know what I mean?
You're doing it right. You've probably learned so much. So what have you learned, though? I mean, so far, from the difference, because I was looking at some pictures and videos, it did not this is just my point of view. I was like, man, he did not look ready.
Absolutely.
Maybe,
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't fair. And you get a mandatory list. There's people who do these races and they have support boats with them and they have a list. So I went through that mandatory list before I got in San Diego, had all the items, sent it to the Coast Guard as well, let him know. His name was Doug. Great guy. But he got my list and he was like, okay, you're good. And then you register your vessel. It's an MMSI number.
Okay.
And it's classified as, I think, unclassified. So there's no other form of propulsion. Like, you don't have a sail, you don't have a motor, which really makes it interesting when you get to a marina, because they have insurance and requirements and like you're a liability. But I'm like, bro, I'm only going 2 knots. I'm not going to hurt anything. Like, if anything, I'm going to get hit. So like, there is all that stuff. But yeah, you get your radios on. I run with an AIS. I run with an XY band radar deflector, which is my favorite. It's just pole. It's like this big, and it just pings. Like, it doesn't pull much energy at all. Okay. And it's a ping. And if that tells you based on the frequency or the amounts in between the pings, if it's 60 miles off, 32 miles off, whatever. So a lot of times you get out there and guys got their AIS off, or they can't afford them. So you're kind of reflecting on whatever you can that way. But the AIS is a good one. And then some of the other equipment is your life raft. That's your go-to. Like, if things hit the fan, the ditch bag, which I've learned now, like, you put that thing on the outside of your boat. You don't put it on the inside. For me, when we get to it, and I capsized, it was on the inside. But now these are things you learn.
Yep.
I didn't have Starlink at the time, but I got it. and it's a game changer for me.
Oh yeah.
Especially now with the Mini, because it doesn't require the inverter. So like I'm running now the first live stream that's available. Like we're going to be doing that and educating and talking about the water and showing the beauty of it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great thing for me. I use Predict Wind and Windy, and there's an app now that you can use, which is one of the biggest things I think that you prep for is like the SARS.
Yeah.
And I sent you the message. I talked to Kevin Cooper, who is a coastie out of Honolulu, involved in my rescue, and said, "Hey man, how do we make this educational for everybody?" He's like, let people know that like if there's a storm approaching, try your best to email the RCC in that area.
Yes, when I read that,
and I ended up doing that when I got to Australia, but or was close to it, because like you have an EPIRB. I'm going backwards, man. I'm sorry, but like
no, this is right on the money.
Okay,
this is good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I carry a Spot because Spot at the time when I was on my canoe trip was brand new. They were cheap, and they said, "Hey, do you want to be an ambassador?" And I said, "Yeah."
I've grown with them the whole time. I've never got any money from them, but I get the product.
And their service is now going all the way across the Pacific. A lot of people think that, or may have had issues in the past, but I've been testing it, and it did. It works. But so I ran with the Spot, and then I had the EPIRB. And the EPIRB is really, if you press SOS on like a Spot, like it's a different communication channel. If you press that EPIRB button, the one where it says on the back, like literally, like if you press this and you're not in distress or something, like you have serious consequences. Like you have to lift the button and press the red dot, you know? So like have all those things, but be mindful that you don't have to tie up those resources. You can email in advance the RCC that you're going to, which I think is great. Like, because if you got a storm approaching and the rating on your vessel, whatever it is, isn't it's going to be like you're in for a ride, but you think you can make it, like, and you're going to go through it. Let the RCC know,
hey, we're about to get some weather.
Yeah,
you know?
and what may happen is like if they do decide to come out, then they'll ask you to press it, which happened to me in Australia. Like, so they can locate you specifically, but then they let everyone else know, hey, there's no need for any more concern.
So we talked to some coasties and they said kind of the same thing. They're like, hey, you know, if you're going through some weather or let's say you're not going down, but you're going through, you know, a shitty situation,
yeah,
you know, call us, let us know. We'd rather make our way out there and turn around. I mean, people are under the impression sometimes that the Coast Guard is going to charge them a bunch of money to fly a helicopter or take a SAR boat out there, and it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah,
I don't think they don't charge at all, unless it's like fraud or not fraud, but like a hoax. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, like when I got rescued, I'm trying to help other people. When I go to these countries, like I raise funds on rowingmyboat.com, and people donate, regular people, and we give it to
random communities along the way that I meet and say, hey, this is this. And some people donate for the boat to fix it as well. But, you know, one of those things is like you want to get to a level in your adventurous expedition that you're helping other people so that if the event happens, like you're not getting so much negativity that it hurts your message. And I think that's where I got with it. Like, hey man, like fuck, like I'm getting comments now on my rescue, some idiot going across or taxpayer dollars got wasted, and like that stings. You know, and so like you try to like say respond, and you try to like understand why they're saying that. I pay taxes, you know, like, but it's a fair argument. So I went back to the Coast Guard, and without getting into a discussion too much about it, because
I think it's pretty negative, you know, but
you recognize that like, hey, don't waste these resources if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And who pays it? The government. You know, I can't speak internationally to it, but like, unless the Coast Guards that I talk to now, Kevin being one of them, said like, if we think you're irresponsible, we call it a hoax. It's very rare, and then we bill you. But they rarely, if ever, do that. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Like,
yeah, we're very lucky to have the Coast Guard.
Man. And in many ways, and many more ways than I can describe.
I want to go back though to like the whole preparation and all this. I mean, there's a lot of people are going to ask like, what do you eat? You know, how long does the food last, and how do you cook and all that?
So like, for me, when I started in San Diego, man, I was like, this is a boat, people row it, let's go, right? I'm going to get to one point to the next. And my idea was to stop along the way. So I hit the Bahia Ascension, which was one of the first stops. But like, I put a bunch of canned food in there, man. I'm not like, I'm a very minimalistic guy.
Yeah.
So like I'll go with whatever I have. I had a solar oven, and
That's
you
pretty sweet.
you make water from the sea, like with the desalinator. I also carry. There's a manual one that I carry. That's a Cadence Survivor 35, and it takes you about an hour to make or a gallon.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it's something like that. So like in the event your solar panels go down, you can't manually make water with your main one. You can do it manually, which is this. The idea is you don't have a plan B, plan C. You got 3 plan A's.
Yeah.
Right. So then that's one of them. But yeah, man, I handline fish. I don't.
Okay, I was going to say, you got a rod or your hand line and something.
Yeah, and I only had like a little bit of money, man. I didn't have sponsors.
Yeah.
Like now, like you just go. Like I knew that like certain people, the majority of people, I'm going to say 90%, right, who go on these expeditions, do all the planning, and they don't get off the block. It's the hardest part. For me, that's the reason I kind of like, I'm wired that way to learn hands-on anyway. I can't read that well. So, like it put me in the thing and let me figure it out. And that's how it's been. So like, I really figured it out going down for 14 months. It's about 4,000 miles to the canal, and I figured it out. And I'm look back on it and I'm like, yeah, I didn't.
But from that first point from San Diego to between your first stop, what was that experience like? Was that just like kind of an eye opener, or what was the gnarliest point of that section?
My buddy at the time, the Cuban ski bum, who actually works for American Airlines for 37 years, gave me the passes to come here. Shout out to Frank and his better half partner,
for
Lisa.
real.
But he showed up and said, "Bro, I'm going to go with you to Ensenada." I said, "Let's go." Like he shows up, takes one look at it. I was like, "I'm going to go back to Lisa." And I was like, "What's wrong, brother?" He's like, "Nah, she's got something going on." I'm like, "Okay, like I get it. Like it doesn't look like something you'd be comfortable in." So went to get a haircut, and a Marine who cut his hair said, "I'd like to go with you." And she made a little donation. I said, "Let's go." The next day she shows up, and it was out of San Diego. We left. It's 39. Ensenada was the first stop. It's I can't remember the mileage, 89 maybe nautical miles.
Okay.
And we get out there, and within the first couple hours, she starts puking, and she just had seasickness the whole time.
Is that a lot? That's a lot of weight on that boat, huh?
The boat's rocking. No, the boat doesn't weigh. It's 1,500 loaded pounds, and but yeah, you're rocking all the time, which is another reason like you can't really get a good sextant reading. So like
that's true. I didn't think
you can carry a sextant, but like you're not going to get it's really hard.
Yeah.
So we go, and it got bad to the point where like, because I called in my boat plan, the Mexican Navy shows up and was like, "Hey," I was like, "They're coming. Like if you want to get off, now's a chance. Like we can get you," because you can't really get to shore. The surf waves are just insane. Like you can't get there until Ensenada. I was like, "If you need to get off, let's go. It may take you longer to go through that process and have me keep rowing." And I just didn't stop for 39 hours and rowed her all the way there. And
wow.
Yeah. And we got 10 words in the whole time. And she departed and said, "Thank you for doing that for me. It was an awesome adventure. But just so you know, like every song you play was now ruined for the rest of my life."
Wow.
I'm playing like U2, like some good stuff. Like I felt awful. But that was the first and last time I ever had anyone on the boat. And then I regrouped, rallied, and rode to Cedros Islands.
How long did you stop? And like, what did you just restock on food, water?
Yeah, I met up with some cruisers. I met for the first time other mariners, and it's so cool, man. The cruiser community, dude. I love these guys, man. And they're like backpackers on the water, like next level. And like what turned out to be the biggest bond I've ever had. Like I didn't know they all came together looking for me at one point, man. But it's a bond, and I think that speaks volumes to anybody on a boat, on the water.
Oh, for sure.
As you know.
Yeah,
right?
no, there's so many different apps too. I work with the young cruisers guys, and it's fun to see the vibe, and it's a big community.
Yeah, exactly. Facebook groups I think are big, which is, it's like some of these, I didn't know. So they were waiting for me. They were there, and I was like, "Yeah, this is fucking great."
You had no idea.
No, and I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool." Like, like you're on a humble little 23-foot boat rowing, and people are like validating it. So like there is that, and then I left there and went to Cedros Island, and I'll never forget, like Cedros Island was like this little island above, I think Bahia Ascension, I will say, but I just pulled in after some solid rowing for like 24 hours or 36 hours straight. It was my first time like I was in like stuff that you can't let go of the oars with, which means
Describe that.
and it's not nearly as big as it was coming across the Pacific, but it's like waves that, like, if you're not riding or surfing, because you kind of surf them, but if your stern is not pointed the right way and they're breaking, then you're going to go sideways, and if you
potentially roll.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think they were big enough to roll, but like I wasn't about to let go. Like, I'm like, this is my first time in these things. Like, holy crap. And I know that I can go about 3 days and then I'm done.
How
like,
big are the seas, you think? Like 5 to 6 foot?
The rating on those was like 20.
Oh,
it was 20 to 30 knot winds. It was one of the bigger days. Yeah. And it was right after the Baja was going on.
Okay.
So like, those guys already went through. Yeah. And, but it gave me a good sense to know what my limits were. And I was like, man, I'm solo. Like, that's the hardest part is like staying up that long. So I continued on, made it to Bahia Ascension, and met a lady who I still am. She's such a sweet lady. She's not a lady; she's a young gal, Sherry Bondi, and she runs this whale magic tours, man. And they work with the gray whales. They migrate. 2,000 whales go down the Pacific coast every year. And I met her and a guy named Larry. And it turns out, like, a lot of cruisers know Larry. And anchored my boat for the first time there, and met Joe and a few other cruisers, Chris, and all these people that you meet. It's funny how they come back at the end, because it'll circle back.
Okay.
But like, you meet them, and Ed Gillette was there, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm still going. Yeah. Hey, what are you guys doing? And they were just going to town, like as they do with cruising on their sailboat. It's the most amazing lifestyle ever, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. So I anchor, and my rudder was never really good. Like, it was a backup rudder when I got the boat. And you look back on these things, and when you go all in on something, you do it as much as you can, as much as you're sponsored. But like, I was at my limit, man. Like, I couldn't fix things tight. Knowing now what I know now, man, and every running situation different is, dude, you can get on the water and go international just like that.
Yeah.
Any boat you want, just like that.
Yep.
So someone should say to you, like, hey, wait a minute.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And, but that's the thing is, like, it's not regulated as much,
No.
and not to anyone's blame, but like, if you get in a car, there's rules, right?
Yep.
You get in the ocean, like, it's a free world. Like, it's wild.
There's a lot of people that just think that way. Like, I'm going to buy a sailboat and go travel the world.
And for me, it wasn't like, I'm going to go do this another adrenaline thing. Like, I'm not really an adrenaline guy. Like, I go too nuts. Like, I just am sometimes in a situation where on land hasn't worked out for me. I've gone through years of coping and trying to fix my life, and like, adventure has always been the thing. And so this was it for me at the time. I get to Bahia Ascension, the rudder breaks, the anchor breaks on anchor, and beaches on the shore. So I find out real quick, how do we anchor this boat? Like, what kind of anchors do we need? I get a guy who fixes it, makes me one. And I row off on my birthday, and someone told me, like, don't leave on a Friday, bro. You left on a Friday. Like, there's a superstition on Friday. I guess something with Jesus, like he was born or something happened on Good Friday. So certain sailors say, don't leave on Fridays. I left on a freaking Friday. And the guy, Chris, who I just met, was like, bro, you left on a Friday.
With no rudder?
No. The new
fixed.
one. I get 7 miles offshore and the rudder breaks. Again, turns out the reason this rudder was breaking is because of the O-ring that goes up underneath it wasn't there. It was on top, but not on the bottom. And so, like, these little things you find out later, right? Mm-hmm. So it breaks. I within reach of Sherry. Sherry, like, goes, be right there. And she, like, got Larry. Larry runs in at like 8 p.m. at night, and is like, you? They're like, and he's like, fuck it. And he gets in his boat, and he's like off, and got one guy and came out to get me and brought me back, and we fixed it, but it's things like that like, you really realize, like, okay, like, there's shit you gotta learn.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
Or things you got to be able to fix out there too.
Yeah. And to accept help from other people.
That's true. Yeah.
If you don't want to hurt or involve other people, like, that's your number one thing is that you think about is, like, I don't want to take that. I don't want to get, but like, people really want to be involved. They want to help.
Oh, for sure.
And it connects them to your journey. Right?
Peter Frank would say the same exact thing.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. And respect to him and whatever anybody else is doing their journey.
When you left there after everything's fixed, how far is until your next stop?
Okay, so I kept going to Cabo. I got to Cabo, and I'd never seen Cabo.
I heard it's sick. I've never been there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I need to go. I know.
Dude, the qualified captain has been to Cabo?
I trust me, dude.
Oh my
I know.
God. How is this possible?
I know. There's a lot of places I haven't been.
Okay. I feel like that's about to change. But yeah, brother. So I come around Cabo and you see these rocks and it was like Vegas on the water. Like a big pirate ship came by. And I'm like looking at them, looking at me, looking at them. And we're like, who's looking at who? And like, I'm the tourist attraction. Like, they're the tourist attraction. Me, I hadn't seen anybody in a long time. And then I turn the corner, I tie up and like, you know, I restock in Cabo. At that point was the birth of Cabo the chicken. The locals who run the jet ski rentals in front of the resort said, hey, Aaron, we really got some money. You know, we want to give you something. I said, okay, brother. And so they brought me out on the jet ski, this chicken, beautiful red chicken. So I called it Red, the Cabo chicken. And
the chicken wrap.
yeah, and I'm like, fuck, this is great. Okay, here's the deal. Like, you make breakfast every morning, you don't walk the plank. Like, we're good. Give me 2 eggs every morning. We're going to get healthy and we're going to go. And like, I'm in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I left and I crossed the Sea of Cortez and got my ass handed to me. The Sea of Cortez has got massive currents. Mm-hmm. And I went up as high as you can into the other bay before I made the crossing. I was going for just above Puerto Vallarta and made the crossing and started to really understand currents. And at that point, I had a team member and I no longer work the team member, so I don't want to throw him under the bus. But you know, you try to get anybody you can on your team.
Yeah.
And I was getting emails about this person and asked that person about them and said, hey, if you're on my team and someone's talking about you, I'm going to say, dude, this guy's saying this about you. What do you say? And so like it didn't work out. But the advice that I got from the advice that I got from a top guy in the rowing community that I thought was and was recommended to me was to throw a parachute anchor out. And so I threw it out, crossing it halfway across, and it actually made me go farther out.
I was gonna say the other things, you'll pick up speed fast.
Yeah. So the parachute anchor is sea anchor, para anchor.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You can actually go upwind if the current's going that way.
Yes.
Or it will just really hold you, and, you know, and you want to point into the waves. So you throw out what's like 90, depending on your size. You know, I use a small one, like 8 foot.
Okay.
And I use about 90 feet of line. Most people use more or less. I just find it different. The length for me is based on the waves and the swells coming. So you point into it. But anyway, I threw it out and I'm still going out. And so now I'm on my way to Guam and I'm like, oh shit, like this is bad. And I can't cut the line because Puerto Vallarta and Zihuatanejo and Acapulco, they go this way and I'm going this way. And I'm slowly making ground, but now I'm realizing I'm running out of food. And at that point, the chicken had made 2 eggs the first day. And so now we're like day 38 in of this crossing, which is only supposed to take like 2 weeks.
Damn.
I am about 220 miles offshore, 72 hours without food after a week of
72 hours.
After a week of eating 500 grams a day. So like,
and you're burning a shitload of calories.
Yeah. At that point, I wasn't really rowing, man. I had nowhere.
When you're not, this is a question I want to, and we'll continue. But when you're not rowing, when you go to bed, like, do you sleep?
So I practice what's called polyphasic sleep. So I set 4 alarms, and something I learned from Tim Ferriss. But you basically, when you take a nap, you go straight into REM sleep. So when you take 8 hours, you're getting 4 hours of REM or 6 hours, whatever it may be. I do this thing where I set alarms. I set 4 alarms throughout 24-hour period, and I take 2-hour naps 4 times a day.
And okay, but when you're doing that, do you still have? I mean, I'm just like,
Sorry.
How do you know where you're going? I mean,
you don't. I mean, when you're sleeping, you have your alarms that go off. Like at any point, the AIS and you have to have that.
Do you
ready,
drop a chute down while you're sleeping? Or?
No, always.
Okay. Not unless the conditions are bad. And normally, I'm always going in the, and you're drifting. You're going 2 knots. So generally, it's 1.1, depending on the current, depending on the weight. And depending on how clean the bottom of the boat is, which you jump out and clean every 30 to 60 days, based on the bottom paint. But yeah, so I'm constantly moving, and you're just taking naps and hoping that you're on call because that's what solo guys do, and that's what I was doing. So like
Okay, so then you're out of food though.
I'm running out of food. Yeah. And that's the first time I realized that this SOS on the spot is an option. I didn't want to press it. And I was still within communication with the gentleman on my team. And he was able to get in touch with Doug, the guy I called in my boat plan. And after 72 hours, they were able to divert a ship and do a food drop. And, you know, at that point was the hardest part for me is like, fuck, man, I just diverted a crude oil ship. Like for me in this adventure, like I got to figure this shit out because like I don't want to lose your mission, your purpose, and your merit, you know? And like you're trying to help other people. Like I know better than to have like my own thing, what I'm doing in life, project on someone else and possibly hurt them. So that's when I was like really regrouping. But I'll never forget, man, there were 3 boats that actually came by because they all kind of got word. And so one was, the first one was from India. And this is where my journey really turned spiritual because I was out. Like I was like hallucinating, like not able to like form a text. When you stop eating, like your brain is gone. And like you get lost in like La La Land. You look at your phone and you're like, oh, I can't form a text. Like I don't know what's going on.
That's
like,
scary.
It is. And luckily these people from India came by, and I had done some work in India for Vrindavan. I was invited there to learn about the Krishna. So like I had a friend and she sent me there, and I did some work there and learned about that whole religion and spirituality thing. And so wouldn't you know it, like the mother of the sea that I was feeding on her recommendation every day came by and gave me a food drop. And I was like, Krishna, you know. And
that shit happens all the time. I've noticed that in life.
Yeah. And we called it river chance, but I don't think on the river, you know, but it's not chance. Like you leave 10 minutes before that day from your dock and go 10 minutes later and you meet that person that you would have never met if you left 10 minutes later. That's not river chance. That's bigger than that.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
But that's what it's about. So like, I pull from these things that are happening with my beliefs and use it as a placebo effect, which I think is life in general. Like you find these connections, you can find the negative ones, you can find the positive ones, and I find the good ones, and it keeps me purposed and keeps me happy and keeps me fueled, literally.
Yeah.
So like, I'll never forget the boat going to the Ukraine. It was 13 guys came by right after that boat,
and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, it was 13 young guys and one captain. They gave me 13 cans of tuna fish. And I was just like, how many days you got? Okay. I was like, thank you, sir. And I felt really shitty. And then the next day it was like the Italians, and they came by with wine and chocolate and like this.
So they had two totally different attitudes of what you were doing.
Yeah, they were actually getting ready to go to war too, man. They didn't know it.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So we still communicate, but you know, then the Italians came by in their boat, and they were like, hey, we want to like make sure you're okay. They wanted to tie me up, and I think at that point the Coast Guard was like, hey man, this guy doesn't need to be on the water right now, like blah blah blah. And I was like, let me row, man, please. I'm 60 miles away. I've been fighting 200 nautical miles for 14 days. Like I can get this line. Like let me keep going. I got food. I'm good. Please. They released me, and then the Mexican Navy showed up, and I just never forget. Like I'm rowing through the night. It's like 2 a.m. I'm trying to get to Zihuatanejo, which is the closest place. At this point, I'd already eaten the chicken. So like I ran out of food. I ate the feed, and then I had to eat the chicken, which was really rewarding because the guts of the chicken I put into the cage and dropped it down and was able to catch fish from it too. So that lasted. But like the survival was really kicking in, and the Mexican Navy showed up, and I just remember a big battleship and the little boat coming out with 10 guys on it, machine guns, everything. And they were like, are you Aaron Carotta? I was like, no, I am not fucking Aaron Carotta. Please don't do this right now, because I didn't want to lose merit. I didn't want to risk more. But they're like, are you Aaron? I said, yes. And they said, we want to help you. We want to show America what we can do. And I said,
so what did you originally think they were gonna do?
Tow me. And I didn't want to tow. Like, but turns out like Ocean Road Society says any country 100 miles you're allowed to tow. It's going to have an asterisk by it. But like there was that, and I just didn't want to tie up resources of other people. Like, you know, it was really hard for me to do that.
You're on a mission.
They insisted, so we towed it in on the tow. It broke the rudder again. Not their fault, man, but they didn't know. And so like I spent a lot of time in Zihuatanejo, made some really good friends, man. Unbelievable friends. I went to a restaurant with Tanya and Kenny, at the captain's daughter, and ate I think everything on the menu, literally like 10, 12 items. And she came up to me and she's like, what's your deal, dude? I'm like, yeah, it's a long story. But we're still friends, man. And ended up making some really good friends from people who run Casa Luna, Allison, and TP Joe. And this will get to this point. Like all these people, right? It's coming to it. So like I rode on, continued on, had a really good run, man, from that point on. Talked to the Coast Guard, said, hey, like, I get it. Like, I'm learning, man. Like, please. And so everybody's good, and had a couple storms come around. El Salvador, went through Tehuantepec, got Tehuantepec 3 times, and Tehuantepec is in between Mexico and Guatemala. It's where basically all the hurricanes start, and they come out. And man, within you only get 3-day notice. And so when you run across from like Huatulco to Chiapas, there's this 3 to 7 day window that you can go, but then 60 knot winds start coming. 60. You know, it's
That's
like, and so it happened to me trying to cross 3 times, but I eventually got across, broke the rudder again.
Trying to cross 3 times. So
yeah,
you turned around and just went back and
turned around. Well, no, I went up halfway, emailed the Mexican Navy who was in the next town up and said, hey, I think this storm's coming. They're like, we have a boat, we'll come get you, and tow me back. So anytime I went backwards, I started from the same spot I was last rowing. But yeah, no, I was able to hold out one of them, go back and restart the second one. And when I got almost across, the rudder broke. So that was the third one. And I ducked into a lagoon. You know, and at that point, like the journey is really getting to a point like this boat Smiles. I call it Smiles because it's a simple name that is like what a baby does when it first, and it means happy. Mm-hmm. This shit is really fucking hard. Yeah. And I don't need to remind myself by some badass name. Like that's why like I am so lighthearted about this whole thing. Is like Smiles. Like you know, like this day fucking sucks. Smiles. She's having a good time. She's laughing about it. Right. You keep it light. So
like, what's your name? Your boat's name? Smiles.
Yeah, that's it. And so like Smiles is having a joke, and this rudder keeps breaking. But every time it broke, I met some amazing people, man. Yeah. And this time right above Chiapas, I can't pronounce the name, but I ducked into a lagoon and met people who live on a canoe. They canoe to church, they canoe to get water, they canoe to run their whole deal. And it's Costa Azul. And he was able to hand carve a rudder. So
that's cool.
Yeah, man. And
that one was probably the one that lasted the longest.
And I yeah, exactly.
No shit, did it really?
Yeah, it was. And so like, you know, I gave them things as well. Part of my journey, people were starting to follow and join. So like we'd give them things, solar panels, whatever they need. It's amazing what you can do for these people. Like eyeglasses, for example, like they're $1, but you give them reading glasses, man. Like that's what they need. So anyway, long story short, keep going. I get to Panama, and like the movie True Spirit, where the young girl sails around the world and people fix her boat after her first attempt. I got to Vista Mar Marina, man, and I was so welcomed. Like this whole community of people. It had taken me 14 months, about 4,000 hours or 8,000 hours at sea. I was, you know, and 4,000 miles rowing, and just it was great. Sorry, 4,000 hours at sea, but you know, they came together. They helped fix it and update it and get it ready to go. So I officially hit my starting block for the circumnavigation at that point.
How long of a break did you take in Panama?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. It was really important for me to stay on the journey. When you're all in, you don't have a reason to quit. So if you have the slightest thing, like a home back home or like a car, you know, like you're going to think about it when shit gets tough, you know?
That's what I was going to ask you, man. I mean,
for sure.
You probably think a lot when you're out there by yourself. I mean, what did you know, if you're not rowing, what did you use to kind of kill time or keep your mind off certain things? Or
well, the Starlink has been great. Like, you know, Netflix is great for me, and you're always moving. So for me personally, like I found that I love the mental game. I love I find it like so fascinating and so strong that you can get in your head that you can survive it, and you feel like this whole new like vibe, dude. If you can sit in a rowboat for 33 days in silence, which is what ended up happening next, and be good, then you walk off that boat and you're like, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and that's how it is. Like, but yeah, a lot of Netflix, a lot of music. That was the thing. I need white noise. And so like sometimes you don't have that, but when you can't see, I could see land pretty much along the way. I was going
5 to 10 nautical miles along the way. You do hear the other boats that are going along the way that some people are scared of, but like we're talking like organized things, like running up and down speedboats. You know that's present in those waters, but I've met a few of them by accident, getting help or getting something come across me. And, that's the only people you really see. And that if you're not a threat to them, you're good. If that makes any sense. None there. Okay. So yeah, there is piracy that just happened, but nothing along Mexico. It was the safest. I was one with a fisherman. I mean, the squalls would come up and we'd be 10 miles offshore and I'd see a panga next to me. And the next morning, like the storm went through and they were still there. And I'm like, bro, what did you do?
No offense, but they're not really looking for you.
No, exactly. They come across your bow at 10 miles offshore, like flying these. There's a funny story, but they're flying black, bro. It's a flag with black. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get fucking like what? And they're trying to look at you trying to look at them. And you have this different approach that you take. One minute you're like, hola. Next minute you're like the crazy guy with like big glasses, nothing on. You just try to play these different roles because they're trying to figure out, are you a plane? They'll ask me if I'm a plane. It's like, because it kind of looks like a plane that's sunk or something. So like, but when these guys came across my bow flying black, I was like, oh my God, they're flying black. Like this is not good. Turns out it's just a trash bag that they use for the long lining poles.
Oh, no shit.
Bro, yeah. So they're regular people, man. I'm friends with a lot of them still, and I ended up even helping with the rescue on one of them, man, in Panama. It's amazing the people you meet, man,
This episode is brought to you by Boat Trader, America's largest boating marketplace. If you're thinking about getting on the water this year, the Boat Trader app is hands down the best way to shop for new and used boats. They have the biggest inventory from both dealers and private sellers with all types of boats, from big to small. Whether you're a first-time boat buyer or selling or upgrading, Boat Trader makes it easy for the buyers and sellers to connect. Plus, they offer easy financing options with an online boat loan application, loan calculator, and boat price checker tool. So if you're dreaming of your next boat, download the Boat Trader app today and start your search. Panama, you're about to take off 3 months later after your stop.
Yeah, we're now in 2023, and it's February 6th, and I am ready to go.
So from Panama, where was your next destination?
I had the option. You're running the North Equatorial Current, and to get to Australia, right? You got to get across. But my thing was, hey, I'm going to hit as many islands as I can.
Yeah.
The problem with that is the Galapagos would be your first set of islands. That's 780 nautical miles south, like southwest. No one has ever rowed. No one had ever rowed down the Panama as well. So these were world first for the boat and for me. But like I'm saying that because I'm in basically uncharted territory for a rowboat. We don't know what the currents are going to do based on the boat. So yeah, so you're running a North Equatorial Current, and right below the North Equatorial Current is the South Equatorial Current, and then your currents. I may be saying this wrong, but the North Equatorial Current is going left. The one along the equatorial is going to the east, and the one below it is going to the west, right? So you got two going to the west from the east, and then the one in the middle is going backwards, right, for me. So I leave going 700 nautical miles, come off of a really sharp point at the bottom of Panama, and make it across the barge traffic, which is great. You're on your VHF. Letting them know in advance.
Radio chatter.
And you got your AIS going and just making that as you educate people on.
Yep.
And I got to the Galapagos in 14 days, just north of it. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep going. And as soon as I wasn't going to stop in the Galapagos, but as soon as I got past the Galapagos, about 500 nautical miles, my water maker broke.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So now
I can only have the other form. What did you call it?
The manual. It's a Caden 35.
Yep.
And I'm, dude, I'm in. I got enough food in my boat. Like it's loaded with canned food. I don't use the dehydrated because I just haven't been able to source it with sponsors. Like that's the other thing is like, I haven't had the time. Like I've just been on this journey, and most people, when you first tell them what you're doing, are like, yeah, let us know how it goes, buddy. You're thinking I'm going to quit, but I'm still at it. But, so there's not the sponsors. It's just canned food, local food, basics, rice, solar oven. But now you've got probably the worst case is you're 250 days on this water now, manually making water.
And how far off were you
if I
when
miss,
this happened?
500 nautical miles northwest of the Galapagos.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, it's a real issue, but you came for this, you came prepared, you know, you carry your water that's in your jugs, that's reserve. And then you also have your manual, which you know is going to work. But now you got to do it for an hour every day for, in the worst case of 250 days, if you miss the other islands and you get to Australia. The closest island is the French Marquesas, which is about 3,000 nautical miles from the Galapagos. 3,500 roughly. So I decided I'm going to drop down 3 degrees latitude and go into the equatorial current and run myself to the right. For the first time, I did it. I went backwards. And now, like, I'm running these currents. I'm really getting the vibe for, like, oh my God, this boat is really just drifting. Like, this is what we do. So I make it back to the Galapagos, get a membrane there, which is what it needed, and fix that, and then gear up and get myself ready for the French Polynesians, which I'm now at a latitude below the equator, and I can take like Kontiki from Peru, these trade winds that will get you pretty much to French Polynesia. The only issue with that is I'm still above a latitude line that the Polynesians are on, and the winds are coming from the southeast.
Okay.
So like I'm going to be running a really tight line of not getting these things on my beam, you know, the waves, and they're going to be hitting mid stern, hopefully, right? 45 degrees, not 90, to cut my line 30 degrees.
Yeah.
So 14 days of rowing out of the Galapagos because of all the currents, man. I couldn't get out of it. I'm circling these islands for 14 days, but it was
Was this the hardest part, you think?
It was one. I mean, I was off of, in Mexico, I was rowing in circles for 14 days too, like maybe 18.
Did you get like gnarly blisters on your hands, or, I mean, what do you
The
wear?
feet, bro, the feet.
Yeah.
Like, you can't wear much. Like, there's people out there doing it with no clothes on. It's not me, but like, you can't wash your clothes. So when you sweat, like the salt water, it's like, you can't dry it, you know?
Yeah.
So like, you wear like as little as you can. But yeah, I don't use gloves. I don't use anything, man. I'm kind of old school. It just worked for me. It's like less is better, you know? So like, but you know, sunglasses and bandanas and buffs are really important, especially right now as I'm going through some skin cancer. So like, there's base oil here that I recently got, and I'm being told that I'm still digging, but I'm getting work done at Newport Cancer Center. And one of the things when you're out there on this boat with no canopy and no umbrella, because of the waves, like you can't have that stuff because of the waves. Like if it gets caught in a wave, it's not going to self-right.
No.
So like you're constantly out there. So I'm working with Newport Cancer Center to get some things removed before I head back.
I gotcha.
And get back to the boat next week. But yeah, so long story short, man, we're off the Galapagos and the boat's ready, and I'm going for the French Marquesas. This boat just became the first solo boat to get down there to the Galapagos. So it's been feeling good, right? And we're not having any more issues. Like, we're good. Well, I get sponsored some new solar panels, and I put them on the deck, and I start rowing. And within 1,500 nautical miles of leaving the Galapagos is when I ran into my first real big issue, and I lost power. All solar power.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I got surged by some big waves of the trade waves, and they hit the panels, and the panels weren't designed the right way.
1,500 miles?
Yeah. The farthest you can be from any point of land, pretty much in the world. I think is roughly 15,
This is your
16.
biggest part of your whole entire, voyage here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I'm like,
you distance from A to B. You're dead smack in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. And I can't go backwards, right? And so, like, you can't row backwards because now you're in the current and the trade winds. And Aaron, I swear to you, man, I tell it like this is what happened. So I'm going to tell you like
what's
what happened. I hear the words "be brave," and I'm like looking at my phone. It's at 9%. I got this exact journal. This is all I had, and a pen, and I've got no more power. Like within 12 hours, like the power was like dead. Like you can't charge your batteries, dead. So I sent off 2 SMS texts and said, "Hey guys," like one was to this fisherman who became my really good friend, man, is Jeremy Coram. I said, "Hey brother, I am sending this message. I am fine. I don't need help. I have my EPIR, but I'm losing power. I'm just going to keep rowing." I sent it off to the other guy who I never heard from before. And I just kept rowing. And within I noticed I got 9% left on my phone. So turn the fucker off. I had, at the time, like, this wave that got me, that ruined my portable ones and everything. And the lessons you learn now is like you have a dry box, man, that like you keep that stuff in for the ditch bag, right? So the dry box goes in the ditch bag, not out, which I had it out with the unit was out at the time when it got wet. So now like without solar power, you have no screen time, you have nothing, like dead silence, right? I hadn't seen a plane, and I knew that I quickly wrote down the coordinates that the French Polynesians were at a latitude line of, I believe it was, I can't remember now, but it's all posted on Facebook, 7 to 10 degrees south. And I have to get down like 5 degrees. And what I'm reading is now 3,000 nautical miles. All right. 30, I think it was 34. I'm going 40 miles a day, 45 miles a day. So I did the math. I've already gone 15. Like I got 1,600 nautical miles to get to an island from here.
Jesus.
So 40 days, right? You go 40 miles a day, 1,600 miles to go in the dark. Like, let's go. Like, we can do this. I hear God. I'm going to use that as my go-to, the only guy I'm going to talk to now for the next expected 40 days. I came for a spiritual journey. Here it is. Because I've been reading these books and they had parallels of 40 days, Noah in the rain, Jesus in the mountain, all these things. Like, it was a 40 days thing. So I'm like, okay, I came to see God. Like, let's go. Like,
yeah.
You know, and I don't have a death wish. It's not like, you know, I've got cancer. I have this mind state that like you live every day to the fullest. So I'm not out here doing it for that reason. It was like, this is really like, I don't go on just the will of God, but like, this is a great time to connect. This is what happened. Personal success story of God. We go, man. And I'm now going 10 days into it. And this is when like the moment of like real quiet gets to you. Like
you're on the mental battle now.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really soaking it up. Actually, I just felt like I love this. Like I'm clear. I'm fasting on rice. I'm hand lining 2 fish every day. So like when you get into the trade winds, the boat doesn't have a motor. So the dolphin and the mahi, however you call it.
Oh yeah, they're following you probably.
They're all under the boat.
Yeah.
It's a fish market down there. And I'm literally looking Aaron down and I'm like, that one's a little bit different colored. He looks stressed. I'm not going to take that one. It was that easy, man. Like, and I just have a little hooch. It's like a pink, like that my buddy Jeremy gave me.
Yeah.
And it's a hooch, and you know the pink squid.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was
throwing that over
for 78 days. Like I caught for 33 days I caught 78 fish, 2 fish every day. I'm filleting it. I'm hanging it up. Like I'm just carving it. Like it's,
yeah. How are you cooking it?
So solar oven, or I'm drying it out for fish jerky.
Yeah, but without the power though.
No, solar.
Oh, solar. Yeah.
So it's just a box, and you put it in, and it makes the fish in 10 minutes. I make my rice every morning. The rice takes 4 hours. That was the only part of that. But now I'm like fasting like a devotee, you know? So I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking beautiful, man. Like this is
You're
good.
eating good fish too.
Yeah, I was.
That's mine's good.
I did start to feel like a Mercury, like irony thing. Yeah. Like I wasn't sure, like, but I was good. Like, yeah, right? So like.
Could have been a lot worse.
Supernatural thinking as well, too. Probably to the point where I'm going crazy. Like I'm starting to hear things. Like I'm hearing, wow, wow, wow.
And it turns out like that's a sub, right? Like with a motor, you sleep, in my boat, you sleep below the waterline. I'm hearing sub activity.
No way.
There's 7 Chinese fishing vessels in the area. And I believe with my rough estimates through special op guys that I was asking later, that they could be monitoring it, but they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell the people looking for you. Like that's above the Coast Guard pay grade, which is literally what they told me. So, anyway, you're hearing things, you're seeing, you're in it, man. You're in the now, like you're rowing. And on, day 12, I think it was, like I took my ACR device. This device like is my EPIRB, right? At any point, like you talk about
Did you have the little PLB?
Yeah, I had the PLB ACR, and if you press that button, like if you lift it up and press it, like the whole world knows, right? So one of the things like that you're educated by the Coast Guard and they've asked to help is like that crossing from Panama across the South Pacific is the toughest stretch for any RCC to get to because it's right in between Peru, Australia, New Zealand, Honolulu, which is the branch that comes down. Like it's very difficult, right? So I wasn't going to push that button. I was like, man, I am not getting involved. I'm good. What if I push it? What am I going to say? I just don't have my coordinates, sir. You know, like,
yeah, you have nothing.
Which is like, I was going on the stars. I'm going on the sun. I'm going on the waves and wind. And I had a compass. That's all I had to navigate. But I would turn my phone back on and it still pings. So you can still ping your phone on, I use Navionics.
Yeah.
And you still get a location and coordinates, but it takes like 2 minutes. So every time I turn that thing on, I'd be
shit. Don't die.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what it turns out is I waited 5 days. I was like, don't touch that fucking phone. Don't turn it on.
Yeah.
5 days later, I turn it on, it's at 5%. So it's losing a percent a day that it's off. I'm like, this is going to end. Like, okay, let's make sure we get a track line. So for the next 3 days, I turned it on once a day, track that I am actually going 45 miles per day in the right direction at the right degree south. I may see the French Polynesian Islands. At that point, if I don't see them in 40 days, that's it, God. Like, I'm going to ask for help. Like, our journey is, thank you very much, but it didn't work out, right? Well, day 33 comes. Little do I know that over the course of the next 33 days, I'm silent. My post on Instagram, everything went dark. You know, people just stopped hearing from me. All the people I met in Zihuatanejo, all the people that I met, the cruisers, start a search page started by Allison from Casa Luna. And 3,500 people came together, man. And it became this amazing, amazing outreach of people trying to find me and make sure I was okay. And if you read this timeline, it's a roller coaster ride. Like, you see, like, every time I would press on that device, the test button to check my batteries, it's sending off a soft ping. So what we do now is we've really tried to communicate that if you have a PLB and you press that, the RCCs now register it, recognize that, hey, that's a test press. And this is something we're still working with, and I'm hoping I can get in touch with the ACR about. But like, when you press test and check your batteries, you're sending off a soft ping. So I think the chain of command of what happened was Peru got wind of it. Everyone was already looking for me after, I think, 15 days missing on social. And they said, yeah, he set off his bacon. So they start looking in that area. I didn't know any of this. I'm just rowing.
Yeah.
So now a lot of people, and I'm like, I'll tell you my feelings towards it later, but like, I just keep rowing. 10 days go by. People are starting to really worry. I press it on my boat. I'm checking my battery again, press test. It pings. They're like, he's alive. There he is. He's actually asking for help. Meanwhile, I'm just pressing test, check my batteries. I'm still rowing. So now they're looking in this area, right? I keep going and no one hears from me. And after 30 days, I think the conversation by Kevin to my father was that I was no longer out there. And my father, being the respectable guy he is like, on behalf of, you know, he wanted them to keep going, but he understood. They didn't want, my parents can't handle it. They don't want anything to know about the, you know, rightfully. And that's the hard part about this, is you don't want to let other people worry about you.
Yeah.
But they were told I was deceased, I think. And he said, on behalf of his grandfather, who was a coastie, and his other one who was in World War II, we appreciate your service. And so day 33 happens. The page is now posting pictures of me as if I'm dead, I guess, kind of. Some people are like, no, man, that guy's still rowing. He's still alive. I press it for the real time. And it sends off a hard ping. And that's because I capsized. And so I've been rowing for 33 days across from the Galapagos in silence on my mission with God for what was expected to be 40, and 7 days short, I capsized. And at that point, I'm like, God, what the fuck? You know, like, I thought we had a deal. This, I misread this whole thing. What the hell am I doing? That capsize happened way too quick. And what happened is that morning, I was in my routine catching 2 fish every morning. I'm still harnessed. You have a harness, a safety cable to the deck. And I just caught my 2 fish. I'm preparing it in the solar oven. And I look to my right, and I didn't have the weather reports, but I'm really in line. But the winds were out of the south that day, and they were probably 20 to 30, and the seas were 10 to 14 meter crest. So like, the crest is the part that breaks.
Yep.
That's the recipe for my vessel to capsize. So I see this wave. I look to my right, and I'm like, yep, that's going to do it. And I jump back into the hatch and brace for impact, not thinking, I'm still harnessed to the deck, so my door's open. I didn't think it was going to roll. I didn't know. I hadn't been in waves like this before. And within 2 seconds, I was upside down, and my whole world was, I'm being waterboarded in.
Oh, shit.
And my natural instinct was to swim out. And the training I had done beforehand was this muscle memory stuff, where ditchback beacon life raft. These are the things like I was trained to do before when shit hits the fan. So now I'm upside down. I'm trying to find out, okay, like, where's the stern? Where's the bow? Like, what's all that black shit on top of? Oh, that's the bottom paint. Like, where's my rudder? Oh, that's rudder. And I also have a dagger board, which is like a keel. Mm-hmm. So it was down the whole time. So I'm recognizing all these things that are down, and you keep your keel down, your dagger board down for the high waves, but you go faster if you put it up. So I'm running in high water, so I'm always headed down. Now I'm like, okay, I got to get that damn beacon, and I had an EPIRB that was fixed on the boat. I didn't know where it was or what if it's going off. The boat's upside down. So now I'm diving down to grab the EPIRB, and the PLB, which I also tune a cord on hard to the outside. Was able to find it in my hand underwater and rip it. And it's 200-pound cord, bro, tuna cord that you rip. And when people say you have this strength, I was like, yep, that's the strength. Like, we're in it now. Like, I just ripped this in tuna cord, like 200 pounds to get it. And I lift it up, and I didn't press it yet. I'm like, wait, let's try to self-right this thing. Like, is it going to self-right? And the waves come in sets of 13. So the 13 being the biggest, and then they reset down. There wasn't a bigger one. The boat was not coming back. The hatch was open. I'm like, yeah, I got to press it. And I was like, wait, where's my life raft? All my stuff's floating to the side. And I'm like, I don't see the life raft. So I dove down, and you harness that thing in. I pull it out from underneath. It's bobbing. I had shark activity in the area, but I hadn't seen any. So I'm kind of like, that's processing in my head. Like, hey, like let's not be in here too long. And the raft is where you are. I pull it out. It pops open. At that point, I go, that's it. Journey's over, God. Press the button, jump in. And as I'm untying the painter line of the raft, I lose a hold of it. We're banging against each other. Like
the raft has a canopy, and so the winds and the waves were pretty strong, and we're banging in smiles. And I think before I got into the raft, I was tangled up with my safety line. These are one of the things I do differently now, is the length of my safety line and where it's connected. But I'm tangled up with my life jacket.
Can't cut away, didn't have a knife on the life jacket at the time because I was filleting fish. These are all things I do differently now. I carry 2 knives. One is always on the jacket. PLB is on the jacket. If you have the jacket, there's a different place, but we'll get into that later. But I take off the jacket and jump in because I'm afraid the boat's going to sink, right? I don't want to go down with it. So I'm untying the raft, and now I'm slowly starting to drift from smiles because the canopy on my raft. And I'm like, I didn't get the ditch bag. I got to get the ditch bag. And I had 2 seconds again to decide, like, do I swim back in and try to dive down and get it in the hatch, which is where it was. One of the reasons I now put the ditch bag on the outside. But I didn't. I stayed in the boat and like, this is my vessel now. All I have is my board shorts. Let's go. Let's brace for this. Yeah. And then I see at the bottom of my feet is water. So now my life raft that was secondhand is leaking. And
from puncturing, you think? From smiles?
It was just a secondhand one, you know, man. And these are more things that you try to do differently. Is like, bro, you have to get. It was registered, it was certified, but it's leaking. So like, you're doing shit now, Aaron. You're in the big leads. You got to get better at your backup. And it's easy to say to you now, but when you're out there, like you get what you got, you make it work. But
that's
like,
why I love hearing these conversations. I know they're probably tough to tell, but man,
I'm an idiot.
Everybody's learning, like, from what you're telling us right now, different things that could happen or how you responded, what you would have done different.
I'm an idiot. I mean, I like to think I know what I have my shit together and I work really hard at it, but dude, I'm still trying to learn. And like anybody has advice, like I take it. Like if there's feedback, criticism, whatever, just directly tell me and I take it to heart and I fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Like one of the things is like secondhand raft that you know, like you can be certified or not, but like if that's your thing, like make sure like you can actually get a regular one. That's first. And not everybody can afford it too. So there is that element too, you know, but like at this level that I'm at, like I'm now in the raft, it's leaking. So every 10 minutes I'm bailing and I'm just like, I throw out, when you open a raft in big letters, it says 6 things. And these lines are like that big. And it's like, read this first. Don't drink the water for 24 hours. Throw out your drogue. Put in your paddles, zip up this, whatever. So I'm doing those things and your mind is racing as it does when you're on adrenaline. You're not feeling the cold of the temperature. And for the next 6 hours, like I threw out the drogue and I'm trying to just bail the water. Like I didn't think about anything else except stay in tight in a ball and don't lose your temperature and try to just keep this going. The water was warm, man. So like, you know, there's other things like, do you always have on that life vest? There's like all these things I work through now, but like you're in the hot, like you're more, So that ditch bag is your key. It's supposed to be in the ditch bag with your energy bars and survival, and you're supposed to get that, but I just couldn't get to it. So anyway, I feel a bump about 6 hours into it, probably midday, because the capsize happened 2 hours after the sun rose. I didn't have a clock, I didn't have anything to tell time, but I feel a bump. I look outside, and when you know it, it's a 6 to 8 foot shark circling my drogue like it was chum. And I'm like, he would come up to the raft and go back. And I was like, what is that white spot? And I did this talk on the Discovery Channel with Luke, who's a shark expert. And he's like, that's an oceanic white shark. And I so close to it, it got as close as you and I are, and it would go back. But I could see like this paint spots on both sides and on its fin. And I didn't know at the time, but that's the #1 casualty for the Coast Guard ship that went down. Like the guys were eaten by these sharks. And they're savages. They feed on whatever. So he's probably feeding on all my stuff that's floating around, rightfully so. I'm like, fuck, if I sink, like I'm next. So there's an element that goes, this is the coolest thing of my life. You're never going to be in a raft in the middle of the place in your world. And then you go, no, you're sick, dude. Like, like, it's cool, like you appreciate that, but like you're in for a ride. Be brave. Like you remember, I'm not like, I'm brave. Like I thought I heard God. I didn't hear God. Like this is like, now I'm an idiot. Like, and then out of probably 2 hours before sun comes down, I see the first plane I'd seen in 88 days. So since the Galapagos happened and I rode 1,500 and then I rode another 1,000, I had been at sea for 88 days. I hadn't seen anything. I hadn't heard anything for.
You see this plane?
I see red and white stripes, bro, and it was a Coast Guard plane.
How long after you hit the PLB?
I think it was 6 to 8 hours. They will know exactly,
That's
but like,
quick.
Dude, it's unheard of.
Yeah,
and the reason it's unheard of is because that search page of people.
Oh, okay, probably.
Once they gave up on me, there was another guy who was missing. He wasn't really missing. He was fine, but like. They thought he was missing, and so he had a miner on board, and they went to Tahiti to refuel. This plane was from Hawaii, Honolulu, and they were refueling that day going home to Honolulu. Normally, you can't rescue anyone in these waters at that quick. So all these things lined up in my favor, right?
And all year.
I got very lucky. One of the things is the back of the batteries on my ACR were expired 2018, and I'm running with expired batteries. I know this now, like ACR device. Fuck. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Right? But like, you check all these things now. They're great lessons to learn. But anyway.
406 day, check all that stuff.
406 day. And so now the plane's flying, man. And I'm like, shit, do they see the shark? Like, I haven't seen planes. I'm trying to process what's going on. I'm like, that's really low. It's going really fast. Like, oh my God. And then the flares came down first because it was about to get dark. So I was getting really cold. I think not yet, but like as the night went on,
you're gonna get really cold.
I was about to go for it, and these things came down. At first, it was flares, then it was 2 rafts, and they would unfold. And I'll never forget the sight of the guy in the in uniform on the back of the plane dropping, and then the last thing that come down was a barrel with a parachute. And all of it was dropped upstream. It wasn't their fault. It's like, these are the things we all poach for, but my raft was just, with the wind, was going way faster than the things that were being dropped. So I'm like, that's about 200 yards. I can get there. Do I have to go there? I'm like, do they see the shark? Are they going to drop down someone next? Turns out like they won't drop divers with a shark activity. So like, I didn't know if they saw that or if they were coming down or what was going on. But like I said before, like you can hear things in this boat when it doesn't have a motor. I heard a lot of things, man, like things that were happening. It could have been in my own head going crazy, but I could hear like 1,300 the next day. And sure enough, that's when a crude oil ship came by the next day. So I went through the night. I couldn't get to the items that were being dropped. Now, one of the things that is key with the drop is there's a long line that floats. So essentially you can drop something and have this long line go over you, or that you're going to pass eventually if they drop it down. But yeah, like 39 hours into it, man, I went into a ball. I started to just sit in the water that was still coming in just to keep warm. And I started humming. These are things you learn to do, so I started humming, and within, I think, 6 hours of darkness, the sun finally came up. And it was like the most spiritual moment of my life, man. You know, the cloudiness of the sky, there was the sun slightly through. The sun was who I would talk to every day. And it came up, and this crude oil ship came out of nowhere. And about 1 o'clock the next day, I think, or 11 o'clock, I can't really remember, man. But here comes a crude oil ship.
So your spiritual feelings start to kind of come back together there?
Well, not yet.
You kind of...
Yeah, right now I'm still like, dude, what the fuck? We had a deal. This is going to be a great story of personal faith. But like, I wasn't there yet. But this crude oil ship came by and was able to, with a single prop, no bow thruster, maneuver by. And on the first time it came up, it went by me and I couldn't get to the buoy that they threw. And thank God I didn't jump, because these are things you learn now that you try to help. But like, if you jump out of your raft into the water and you don't grab anything and you're swimming, you're in a worse situation than you were before. So when the boat comes up to you, the waves are coming off the boat. So you see a big bow coming up and you're like this, and it's like, hold on, because it's like just a rapid. You're going right by it. They threw the raft. I can't make out what the guys are. If they speak English, I don't know anything. Didn't really hear much other than grab the raft or something like that. And I couldn't get to it, so I stayed in. They came back the second time and lowered it like what I call a human crab trap down. And at that point, I saw this thing coming. It's bobbing with the waves. I'm bobbing up and down, and you got to time it. You got to jump into this thing. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to miss this thing. Like, I'm getting in. I'm getting this.
You miss it, you're done.
Yeah. So Aaron, I go for it, and it comes down, and what do you know, I jumped with everything I had, and I came up with just an arm hanging short. I got no legs. Well, I had no legs because I've been at sea.
Yeah.
And so, like, I hear this big cheer. They all start cheering. It's the first sounds I really am hearing. And then they're like, hold on, because of the back whip, held on, get on the boat, and was placed onto this ship and greeted by 22 guys. 13 were from India and 11, I think, or 9 maybe from Malaysia.
Okay.
And at that point, brother, I was like, I can't believe this happened. Like, what's going on? They check me out. They give me a shirt and shoes. And at that point, I put on the sandals, I put on the shorts, and I put on the shirt, and I looked down and posted Facebook picture and everything. I looked down, and on the shirt, it says the word brave. So at that point, I was like, well played, God.
Yeah.
This isn't about me and you. It's about everyone else and how we're all connected. I'm rowing for humanity, trying to bridge a failure to communicate. And you gave me the validation. Awesome.
Wow. Did they, how long were you on that ship, or did the Coast Guard come out?
So it took 10 days to get back to Hawaii. And then I got wind of all the things that were going on behind the scenes, got a 4-hour debriefing from the Coast Guard. And we really talked about, how we need to educate people going across, making that crossing. I said, tell me exactly what we need to do. You know, is it auxiliary volunteer?
They got in that.
Yeah,
you would think they wouldn't give
it. It was the guy I called in my boat plan with from the very beginning.
No
man.
way.
So the other boat that was missing, you know, like I look back, man, I really tried to do everything right. I called in my boat plan. I had all these devices. Like, I survived this situation, and thankfully everything lined up. I got really lucky at the same time. But like, you do these things and that's all you can go for, man. And everything else is like
up to God. You know, I really think that that's how it came together. But like, there are things you go back and you say, if you do that again, you don't deserve to be on the water.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I really am hard on myself now. And we got a 4-hour debriefing, and I was so great to see these guys. You know, I still talk to them now. And Kevin reached out to me recently because he said, we don't hate you, man. We're on your team, man. We really think you're trying to do good and help other people, and we appreciate that. And I said, that means a lot, man.
Hell yeah.
It really does, man. You know, I have no hatred. I just want to be trying to be one of these mariners. I want to like learn this business and find out the sea and live the sea. And that's what the side of this, that aside from this rescue and this major issue that happened, you're rowing an ocean, man. Most people go from A to B in a marina. You're living at 2 knots. I don't know how else you can live at sea. Yeah. Or you could do it with other people, but you actually feel the ocean, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're feeling it. you're living it. Like most people are sailing, they don't get a chance to reach down and touch it. Like it's this experience in this rowboat that is just a beautiful encounter that really humbles you and puts you one with nature. You never try to beat it.
When you mentioned nature, that was a question I was going to have. What is some of the things you've seen out there? A bunch of whales, turtles, I'm sure.
The whales were the most amazing part. I mean, they would come up and circle me. I think the interaction with the birds has really become something I really enjoy now. They'll circle every morning, and I'm like, bro, where are you guys sleeping at?
That's what always blows my mind when we're out there. I'm like, what the hell is this like little finch doing out here?
Dude, they travel miles, and I'm like, where do you sleep? Because I will come up on my boat, and they'll be sleeping on my boat. And unless they're sick, they leave them the next morning. And so I'm like, I mean, there are times I thought about I had to eat one, but I never would. But, you know, there.
Did you at all get sick at all during this?
Yeah, I ate the mahi raw, and it got me. And I was like, oh, what am I doing? I'm by myself. If I get sick, it's the most important thing. Like, you don't. But then I now do just use lime juice and do it that way. I don't cook with any hot stuff, man, or stove or gas or anything.
Bring lime juice with you.
Yeah, I live off lime juice, man. Everyone thought the boat sunk, you know?
Well, let's go.
This is the first time everyone thought the journey was over.
But it's not. So you're on this before you got to Hawaii, it sounds like. That's where they dropped you, right?
Yeah.
Where'd, Smiles, man. I mean, that's got to be sad to see. Like, did you just watch it drift away on the ship?
Yeah, it was like the last I saw of it, man. And
how did that feel?
I try not to get attached to things because I don't want to be materialistic.
Yeah.
But like the purpose was like done. I'm like, all right, there's the story. That's my purpose. And when I was in silence, I wrote a lot of letters to my family. It all sunk. But like I wrote a lot of letters to my family. I asked, like, you know, give me a chance here. Like, if this is your journey, God, like show me, like, let's keep going, like blah, blah, blah. And I had to mend, like an adventure really gives you a chance to grow and build and gain perspective. And that's exactly what it did. After that point, you have to let it go. Let the adventure take its course. I went to Mexico. I was in between. I wasn't in a really good place, man. I was trying to figure things out. I did a lot of boat deliveries, which I really enjoyed. I'm sure some of the crew members and I didn't get along so much, but I sent apologies to those one or two to I lasted the longest, by the way, out of all the people who got kicked off. But I learned boat deliveries, man. Loved it. And miraculously, 1 year later on the dot, Smiles was found floating still.
What? No way.
So I haven't talked publicly about it now, but I did a lot of ABC interviews, national interviews, and I left it with, hey man, I'm going to find a sponsor, maybe get a boat and continue to educate people. So like, I really appreciate you giving me the time to do this because this is on my list. And now announce that, like, hey man, I'm still rowing. I'm whoa. I just completed like 88 days and made and Smiles 2.0.
Where did Smiles end up?
So it was spotted by a mariner right in between two islands in Tonga. She went 3,000 nautical miles upside down and still floated, and maybe had her own vacation on a couple of other countries I don't know about. But that beauty was still found, and turned out in the Lao group of islands, because I got wind of it by two very kind sailors, husband and wife, and they posted on that search page. That search page is, I never knew what it was, I really couldn't understand, but this search page has really become
pretty
special,
powerful.
Man. Yeah, not so much for during that part, but what's happening now is like, so they posted on there, and I'm sitting at Casa Luna, and I'm like, in Mexico, and I'm like, oh my God, it's alive. She's alive. And it was a picture upside down, man. And it was like wiped off, like the Adventure Aaron part. And I'm like, that's not real. Like, there's no way this is a fake picture. Someone's having a go at me.
Yeah.
And so like I emailed, my only contact in Fiji at the time was the Darlings, who own Volley Beach Resort. It's a great dive place, RA Divers. And I said, hey, I'm studying the currents. I think this boat's coming your way, man. Could you just be on the lookout? And then I started to think and see comments, and like people were like, shoot that, it's a hazard, like blah, blah. And I'm like, shit.
What's up with that? I
mean, like, I was like, they're right. Like, it's my mess. I got to go clean this damn thing up. Everything in my boat was my life. But I did a couple of deliveries. I had a little bit of money left. And so like, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to go get it wherever it lands. I'm going to go get this damn boat. And turns out an island called the Lao Group, Matuku Island, tribal. reached out to me and sent me a text about 30 days later and said, Aaron, we have your boat. A fisherman found it.
Where's this at exactly?
It's south. It's Fiji.
Okay.
And it's one of the islands south, the farthest southeast of the islands.
Okay.
And you can only get there by a service boat,
okay,
which is like a big boat with no seats, and it's just people sleep on the floor, like very local and inexpensive. And I was like, I gotta go. So I took what I had. I flew to Fiji. Took buses and took this service boat 7 days to get to this island, and still communicating to Villamy at the time. Much love, Villamy. But hadn't heard from him for 14 days because whatever reason, the data is like really bad with the DSL connection there, which is an issue and something they need. So I show up, and within 3 hours I negotiated salvage rights. I didn't know how that was going to go. I had gone to the police station before. I gone to the media and just said, hey, I think this boat's here. Like, I'd really like to see if I can reconnect. They were so welcoming. The Fijian people are the nicest people you ever meet. And they were welcoming me, and they invited me to this island. I brought them the traditional stuff I needed to bring. I met the fisherman, shook his hand, and saw smiles again. And
how was that? How did that feel? That was probably...
Oh, it was unbelievable, man. I still haven't processed it.
How'd it look?
The bottom was great. The top was like the hatch had a hole in it. And immediately I was like, let's get to work. I didn't know how, didn't know what, had no money to fix this thing. They couldn't do it. I think they were going to maybe turn it into a John boat if I didn't come get it. I don't know where the things were. I don't care. I would have given everything to them anyway. But they said, we'll push it back out the water. We'll tow it to this vessel, the big vessel, and we'll get it to the mainland. It literally sat in Suva next to the mainland trash can with me. I reach out to Steve, who runs Valley Beach Resort, and I'm like, he's like trying to organize. He throws me into the place, this 5-star place, like for a couple days. And a guy named Mark McElrath from the search page says, dude, I've been following your journey. Bring it to my house. You can have a house and I have a yard. You can work at it. And the Ellison family group of guys and the local Nilesh and some of his guys, man, they all came together. They gave me space to fiberglass this boat and learn how to fix it and row it on. So for 60 days every day, I spent
working on
fixing it, learning how to do it. I call up my guy in Louisiana, Danny, and I say, he goes, ain't no way you got that dang boat. I say, yeah, brother. And so he said, let's go. So we FaceTime and I learned how to fiberglass. It's actually made of HD foam.
Okay.
So that's why it didn't sink.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and now you know.
There's a lot of boats made like that now.
Yeah, a lot of people are like scuttle that shit. And right? Like, but no, man. Like,
so it was in decent shape. I mean,
it was,
just
it was, man. And I don't know what work they did when they got it on land, but yeah, it was fixable. Anything's fixable, man.
For sure. But it's at the point, though, is it worth trying to, because you're not nearly close to finish your mission here.
No. So Mark was very generous. His father was the main developer of Denarau Island, which is the main island there for tourism. And Mark has his hands in a lot of great projects. One of them is the Ronald McDonald House. So I said, hey, man, I got a good spot for advertising, and they have a marketing budget. We worked, and I got just enough money to fix it and row on.
Hell yeah.
And love the guy, man. You know, and just a perfectly good stranger, man, who heard of me from the search page and wanted to help and believed in it and had it and gave it a second chance.
So you fix it all up. I mean, did you do anything added on to it?
Yeah, big time.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, the boat was white. So one of the things you learn when you're like, why is it white? When you go missing, how hard are you?
Yeah,
right?
So I remember all these comments. I'm doing all my homework for a year.
The comments help.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I know people will hate on this and say it, but
dude, I've read some comments and people's advice. I'm like, that's damn good. That's why I say people comment what you think.
Yeah. And one love, man. Please just take it with like, I'm trying. I'm taking criticism, man. I work 100 hours a week right now. You know, for the last 90 days, I've been working 100-hour weeks just to make enough money to support myself. So other people's donations go 100% to this journey's purpose. But I work like but send a comment. So one of them were like, paint it brighter. So now it's like taxi yellow, you know, McDonald's yellow.
I saw the picture.
Yeah.
And everyone's name is on the boat who's ever made a donation.
That's awesome.
Off rowingmyboat.com. So I was able to find all those names and put them on there. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And add some equipment. And now we're going to be changing it to the Starlink Mini. So you don't need the inverter.
Okay.
And believe it or not, Aaron, like
I felt like how can I not row this, man? At this point now, I'm on an amazing journey. I'm just holding on.
You got a story, and the fact that you found the boat too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? All right, a big shout out to the Water Sports Foundation for helping us out on this podcast. Their Lessons for Life project that's funded by the U.S. Coast Guard is an amazing thing. They help bring on people that have experienced traumatic injuries or life-threatening situations on the water to help others realize what mistakes they made and ultimately help save lives in the long run. So big shout out to you guys. We really appreciate it.
And so off I went from Fiji, September 28th.
What year?
This year.
This year,
yeah,
okay.
Sorry. We're in 2025.
Yeah.
So last year,
okay.
The end of last year.
Yep.
And for 88 days, rowed, stopped in Vanuatu, and then made it to Papua New Guinea and redeemed it. You know, I went through some really rough water, and this boat held her own.
How far is that to where it's at now?
It's about 2,500 nautical miles.
Okay.
And with the stop in Vanuatu, but the water in the Coral Sea and this stretch, Fiji to Papua New Guinea, the currents aren't going. You don't have your equatorial currents.
Yeah, because you're in between all these islands.
Yeah, so as a rower, one of the things I'm learning now and studying is like these currents are going the opposite ways with winds that are going different ways. You're getting a much different wave. And how do you handle that wave? And when do you throw your pair anchor out? And how much ballast do you put on your boat? So I add about 10 gallons of water inside my boat when I get into a heavy sea situation. It lowers my ballast to the point that like it's way less capsizable. You know, these things you learn, and this is what I've been doing. And so like, you know, we made it, man. We made it to Papua New Guinea. I was eventually going to go above Papua New Guinea because I'm trying to get to the Indian Ocean now, to go above Papua New Guinea and cut down through Bali and then go across the Indian. But I had a window that opened up to go straight through the Torres Strait, which is the gap between Papua New Guinea and Australia, and went for it. People started reaching out on TikTok and on Instagram. Hey, they're locals. Beautiful people too. You make amazing friends. It's another reason I do this, man, is that you're in a humble means of transportation and people welcome you. You know, that's what's really cool about it. A yacht would be great, but you know, like I'm not in a yacht. I'm in this little rowboat, and you're one with them. They can relate. Yeah, and that's the most beautiful part about it is you're actually getting a chance to communicate with a tribe or people that normally can't. They can't relate. So unfortunately, they were telling me about sea piracy, and that's when I became really aware that like these locals are really worried about sea piracy. And I started to do some homework. You talk on the cruiser community. It turns out that like there are stories that you don't want to downplay the government and downplay the country because the beautiful people that make up that country don't deserve to be coined under that. But there is cannibalism and there is sea piracy. And I was approached twice.
Cannibalism.
Yeah. And I think the government of the U.S. says, you know, they show you sites of what your biggest threat is. I think it goes sorcery, cannibalism, and murder in that order. Murder is third. So like, you know, you're dealing with like beautiful people, but there are people who are...
in particular is just based off of the worst?
So I stopped in a really small place called the Conflict Islands, and there's a couple of islands that they associate with. Milne Bay is a known hard area for a cruiser to go by. I'll put that lightly because I know people in Papua New Guinea are listening to this, man, and I love you guys. Like, thank you for telling me about the sea piracy. I have nothing to offer. So when I got approached,
what I was going to say. What are they looking for?
Yeah, and it could be nothing, just you know, I don't know. But so I have nothing. I carried betel nut at the time. It's a local thing you chew on. And I have an oral fixation I chew Zens or whatever, just because you're always hours. Yeah. That's my vice. But betel nut is the thing. So like, if you don't know that their teeth are red when you meet them, and you hear about these rumors of cannibalism, you see them and they smile and they got red teeth. You're like, are they going to eat me? Yeah, they all have red teeth because they eat this nut. But there was no cannibalism issues for me. I mean, the front page of the paper came out with a threat, and the police are really working on it in the area. But there was one Frenchman that was murdered recently from sea piracy, and he was a sailor, and that happened in September. So the marina, the Royal Papua New Guinea Yacht Club,
real shit.
Marina, yeah, they welcomed me in. They said that they're on a little bit of a errand. The general manager. They welcomed me, man, and they said we're on a little bit of a lockdown type situation, but like, hey, it's just seasonal, and it is like holidays people get desperate and they go out. So they have the boat now, and I'll return right after this, after I get this thing removed for skin cancer and make it through the Torres Strait.
So you flew straight from there to back to San Diego?
Came back to see family in the States. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Caught up with my brother, made some amends with my family.
How'd
my
all
parents.
that go? This is the first time they've seen you since.
Yeah, man. Well, you got to
Right?
stay busy. Yeah. They don't get it. They didn't. But now my brother's really helped me, man. He's he's got some story with his operation, man, his driving range in Anaheim and the hard work he puts in, his background in finance. So like, it's now a point, like this could be my last big run. I got 2 or 3 more years of it. What's next? You know? And it's about creating a nonprofit that helps other adventurers get their first step. Like
Hell
if
yeah.
you give some guy riding a bike or canoeing or something $100 and help them and give them like the social media traffic, whatever, like that's what it's about for me. So like we really been working together. I work 100 hours a week. Like I said, I Uber on the side, man, and just hustling as hard as I can to find more sponsors. I've never emailed really out any sponsorship.
I can help
man.
you out with that, man.
That'd be awesome, man. You know,
People listening to this story could be mind blowing.
we need a boat wrap, man. Just wrap the boat, and yeah.
Oh yeah, well, we can help you out with that.
But you know what? It's not for me. It's really because you go to an island like Papua New Guinea, man, and you see how far like your dollar goes.
You can reading glasses, for example, is a huge thing. Like they're $1. You bring them to an island. I ended up donating to the island that found my boat a Starlink internet dish, man. It was $500, and they actually put them to work. They all run off that. They have little codes they give out to the village. The school now has internet. Like my buddy Jeremy Corum is doing it in Gonzales in Panama Island. You know, like this thing you can do, these ways you can help is just amazing. And that's all I want to do, man. I live on $10 a day. I don't need it. I'm not after that. I chased that already.
Else.
Yeah, man. I just want
I love
to
that.
keep making it. It's really what it's about. It's the
You
level
and
I get
everybody
to.
I've spoken with some of these similar stories or goals. It's I mean, it's insane how similar. Like you guys all speak the same.
Right.
Same vibes, same spiritual mindset, and it'd be really cool to get a big group of you guys all together, man.
Awesome,
I mean, the
man.
more people I keep meeting and doing stuff like this, it's been really fun to hear, like how similar it all is.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, man. I just appreciate you giving us a moment.
What when do you plan on leaving?
May
Like,
4th.
let's talk to everybody about your actual goal now and where
Sure.
you're going next and all that.
So I'm halfway around the world.
Mhm.
I got to get back across the Indian next. No one's ever rode through the Torres Strait, and that's my next goal. So May 14th, I will be leaving.
Dude, that's not that far away.
I'm ready, dude. It's been hard to
It's April,
sit, but I had monsoon winds hit, and I realized now that I'm halfway around the world, I needed to regroup. I figured this thing out. We redeemed it. Now, what do we need to do to fix it and continue on and do it safely and not help other people, hurt other people, and get them involved? But like one of those things that talking to Kevin is like email where you're going beforehand, talk to the RCC so that in the event you do get in trouble, you're not alerting the EPIRB system.
National Geographic and other production companies have shown interest. So working with a producer in Iceland, Isley, and she is putting together a possible service boat. So a service boat would be a film crew boat that doesn't assist you, but if you
Follows.
get close to an island, yeah, you can use that. But yeah, it's time for sponsorship and everything before crossing the Indian. And the Indian time zone is mid-summer.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't get there to like the west coast of Australia, so I'll go to Darwin. If I can't get to the west coast of Australia, by mid-July, I'll wait till February or March before I go across the Indian, and then get around Cape Hope and go up to the Atlantic and
The home stretch,
be
man.
done with Panama. The question is, when I hit Panama, Smiles will be the first circumnavigational human-powered boat, which is great.
Hell yeah.
But I'm probably going to keep going and redeem myself and
think
get
so?
to Fiji. Yeah, I know so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's just about holding on, man, at this point. Like the boat's floating. The boat's going to go. She's going her way. And
Figuring out how to help other people.
I want to help you, you know, and you already are helping people, but I wanted to help you take it to the next level. I'm going to have to just try to get the word out more about what you're
I was
doing.
going to say is
You know, I mean,
the
you got a
qualified
good-
captain, my new boat.
Well, you got a good following on Facebook. I was looking at that, but there's a whole other audience on Instagram
Yeah.
and all that, man. I think and YouTube. I don't know how your YouTube's doing, but we can.
I haven't been on it in a while, man.
Well,
but
this
yeah,
will all be on there.
I really appreciate it, man. I'm not chasing the fame. I know it comes across that way with the name, but it's really just about what you can do with the exposure, man. I really just like helping other people, man. I've had all that. I'm not going for that. And I hope this didn't come across as like that.
Absolutely not.
You know?
You know, at first when I heard about Adventure Aaron, I thought maybe that's
Yeah, everyone does. I know.
no, but I love it.
You did. Yeah. You're like, let's go, man.
You got to get started. Hey, I got to ask, you mentioned this book.
Yeah.
Is this like your little logbook?
Yeah, man. It's full now. I'm kind of out, but it's waterproof pages. You know, I keep books.
This made it through the whole accident?
No, I started, the other one sunk. So I picked this up when I was on the shores in Hawaii and started writing down everything since. And I just take notes, but I keep all my logs going and digital notes as well. But I was able to save my stuff when it sunk on my iCloud. So I did have some of my notes.
So you're just noting, what are you noting? Because I have a logbook. We actually just came out with a logbook. I think a logbook's super important for people that are traveling. Yeah, man. I just like, whether you're fishing or traveling, you know, you look at what the weather's doing that day. Man. Yeah.
Love
so we
them.
made our own custom qualified cap.
I'm
definitely going to give you one because you need a new one.
Waterproof pages?
I don't know about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no.
But we put it in Pelican cases.
That's awesome, man. That's all I need. You're not going to be able to read this writing, but do you want to? There's a good one right there.
I don't know.
They're just random thoughts at sea, man. You just like. You probably can't read that, man. But when you're out there by yourself, I don't even know what it is, man. But if you're out there, this one just happens to say, if there was no bad, there'd be no good. We have the right to make a choice and the ability to share it. This may be the recipe for success and happiness in my book.
That's beautiful. Let me see this.
It's true, man. Dude, man. I think that's what it's about, man. There's a lot of.
This is gonna one day go down in some museum, a maritime museum or something.
It's a little weathered.
But see, look, like you're logging. What are you logging? Some weather, time, all that.
Yeah, there's time. There's funds and budget in there. There's a bunch of other things.
Man, I love it,
brother.
I'll get you hooked up with a new one.
I appreciate it, man. That'd be awesome.
Dude, this has been great. Before we wrap up here, what to the public, what else, one last thing that, your goal before you leave here and how the public can help out?
Oh man, thank you. Just go to adventureaaron.com. Okay. Everything's on there, nonprofit and everything. But I think the biggest thing, man, is like, if you're out there and you're on your own boat, like know that like you can just row your own boat. It doesn't have to be an actual boat, but just live your adventurous life. Try not to help or hurt anybody else in your process. Help other people and adventure on.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Dude, you've got the best story of all, man.
No,
but that's for another podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for traveling here,
Thanks
man.
for having me, man.
And it's been great.
Really
and
appreciate
I'm
it.
looking forward to it. Once you finish, I definitely want your ass back here. We'll do it again.
Deal.
All right, man.